We cool?
Yeah.
What intrigued me is that you guys actually had to start this record a second time.
Yeah.
So when you went in the first time, I mean, was it the songs that we hear on this record? Was it different material? Was it an energy or a focus that wasn't there? And was it sort of discouraging to kind of get through that and think, oh no, we didn't get it, we need to start over?
Right.
It could have been,
Yeah.
you know. I think as far as the same songs, there's melodies
Yeah.
that surfaced early on that came back later. But you really, I mean, as far as like a song structure, you wouldn't be able to tell one song from the next. You know, it changed so much second time around.
Luckily, it was organic too.
Yeah.
It wasn't this kind of thing where I think we deep down knew something was off about that first attempt, but then I think we were 4 songs into Danger Days when we go, oh, we're redoing this whole thing.
Yeah.
It was more like that. So lessen the blow, and actually it was so much more exciting anyway to just discover a new energy, because it was an energy thing. It was lacking energy. It was lacking direction. It was lacking focus. It was lacking this daringness, you know.
And we love those first 4 songs so much too that I think that's why it was like, oh wow, no, we are redoing this and it's great because look at what we've done so far.
Yeah.
I think if we had just started from zero and we're like, oh, we have to redo this record now, that would have been daunting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the first attempt really, it helped us to evolve really, you know. It gave us like, it almost put up an obstacle course for us to evolve.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly you were measuring that first attempt at the Black Parade, which had set a pretty high watermark for you guys.
Yeah.
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 Gerard, you actually wanted to do a record that was a little more streamlined, a little more
Yeah.
organic.
Well, I was the one that like came in first, and I'm the main perpetrator of like putting way too many rules up right away, which is like, you know, I guess I was like frustrated about some stuff that had happened on Black Parade, and so I was, I guess, kind of negative going in. I guess I didn't have the right mindset, and I was like, I want it to be straight. I want it to be the most pure version of the band ever, not really realizing the most pure version of the band we could give people was the one that had a vision
grandeur.
and and a scope and visuals, and if not a concept album, then a high concept, you know.
So, Party Poison was one of the first songs that came together.
Yeah.
Did that form, and I remember, I don't mean to jump subjects
Yeah.
here, Ray, when we spoke, you actually had talked about The End and The Dead had sort of formed sort of the nucleus of the Black Parade record, and everything
Right, the
was
new
built from there. And so this record, I mean, was it Party Poison? You realized this is a streamlined thing, this is where we want to go?
I think more so, Na 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 really was the one. I mean, Party Poison was a song from the previous recordings, a song that used to be called Death Before Disco that we brought back.
Yeah.
Just because we missed the energy of it. But the song that really kind of changed things for us and made us really question everything before was Na Na Na. You know, I think the main reason was that there was an energy in that song that we didn't have before on any of the other stuff that we had been writing, and then on top of it, it had done everything that we did, everything and said everything that we were trying to say and do with the previous attempt at the record in one song, and it did it way better. And that really, finishing that song really was kind of like, okay, we got our legs back, we got the juice back. Now let's see where this takes us.
And yet the other songs on the record, I mean, really bear no resemblance to that song.
And it's, I guess all
spirit they do, but in
yeah.
sound no. That was like the best thing about this band and I think this record especially. No 2 songs really sound alike, and that's the way we like it. Like, we love to jump styles, we love to challenge ourselves and push ourselves, and that's kind of what happened with Nana. The song that came out, we wrote after Nana was Vampire Money, which kind of shares like that spirit, the same spirit, the punk energy. But then the song after that, I think, was Planetary.
Yeah.
The song after that was Sing. So it's really interesting. You look at those 4 songs, spiritually they're connected, but they're very, except for the first 2, they change, each one. And
Dramatically, yeah.
we were always just kept on our toes about what's next. Like, what song's gonna happen today? Like, what sounds are we gonna create today?
Interesting. I mean, when you guys sort of found that the Killjoys, kind of that mythical band, as it were, by adopting sort of these mythical characters, do you think it allowed you to go places musically that My Chemical Romance wouldn't have allowed you to go?
Well, I never felt like we were these characters,
Yeah,
which was
I can
pretty
see
cool. In fact, setting it in 2019 actually allowed me to kind of envision it like, well, it's just us in 2019. That's really what it feels like. I don't feel like I'm this character Party Poison. I feel like it's just me in 2019, which is why we kind of look the way we do. And so it's actually more really us.
Absolutely. You know, I think that was kind of what you were just talking about is actually something we did do for Black Parade.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we actually, you know, shot ourselves in the foot a little bit because we kind of got lost. We lost ourselves, I think, a little bit, and we were too concerned about keeping up this persona. Like when we went on stage when we were touring on Black Parade, we went on stage with like a combative attitude of, you know, almost like this is how this band would play. You know, this is the mindset. And you know, the Killjoys, for me, like it's more a thematical thing and also more related to the videos. I think on the record, it really is just, you know, the concept to me goes as far as like it's a radio transmission from the future, you know, and that's it, and that's like a distinction I think, you know, we definitely want to make. It's right. The band's on the record, you know.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I know that you were kind of a big Rob Cavallo guy. I mean, Rob's a big guitar guy, and he's got his rigs and his amps and stuff. I mean, did you guys get your yayas out guitar-wise on this record?
Oh, we had so much fun. I mean,
Yeah.
You know,
He's got a collection now.
He's got great collection, great amps, and you know, again, like the challenge for this record, every song presented something different for us. You know, Nana, I think, was a little bit more, okay, how do we capture, you know, what makes the Ramones great, you know, and put our own spin on it. What are those guitar tones, you know, and what's the energy you play with? And then say, you know, Planetary, it's like, okay, how do you make a guitar sound like a keyboard on this song, and what pedals do you need to use for that? And, you know, so every song, it was, you know, there was no boredom there. We were constantly discovering like new things about how we played our instruments and new instruments on top of that.
Mikey, I mean, can you talk a little bit about how you work as a bass player in this band with these two guitar players?
Yeah.
You know, The Only Hope for Me Is You, I mean, was a really, you know, brilliant bass sound, you know, and you're not always doubling guitar
Yeah,
riffs.
that's the thing. It's like I got to think out of my box a lot because, you know, these songs were so dramatically different that I couldn't play it the way I used to play. You know, it's like I had to like, you know, I'm not so much as doubling as sometimes I'm playing just something completely different.
And
And
you started studying like Paul McCartney a lot.
yeah, I started like you know, going through a lot of the Beatles tabs and like seeing how he did it, and you know, there was a methodology to everything he did, and you know, it was like he would play these just amazing things, and then when it's done, you're at the beginning of the riff. Like he would do it so that it would, and I kind of took a step from that where I was like, oh, I kind of started to write my bass parts like that.
Interesting. I mean, obviously, Rob Cavallo is kind of your guy at this point. I mean, he understands the vision. I mean, he's there. He puts it all together. I mean, to kind of get that more organic thing you were talking about, Jordan. I mean, was the band in there live? I mean, is it really going for it, punk style kind of, as it were?
It only happened once.
Yeah, for Vampire Money. We did that. That was actually the first time this band's ever been just like tracked live, and that's what ended up on the record, you know, I think, other than a couple of vocal gang overdubs and stuff like that. But you know, a lot of the songs were just written, you know, in that control room and kind of laying down a beat and then kind of all going back into the control room and listening back to it and seeing how that made us feel, creating loops and things like that, which is a new way for us to write, you know.
That was organic in that way. There was a different kind of organic. It wasn't like organic like tracking live or you know, 4 or 5 guys in a room or anything. It was organic that you would literally start from like a grain of sand and build this world.
Yeah.
You know?
What was great too is it happened so much quicker than I think, you know, because we done pre-production before and writing in a studio, you know, practice space, and I think what we found with on this record is things happen so much quicker, you know, like you can come up with so many different sounds, or the arrangement was dramatically changed because we had a keyboard that could do this right then and there. Where, you know, when you write in a practice space, sometimes you don't have all those tools at your disposal that really help shape the song, and you know, in that way it definitely was more organic because it was just happening like instantly.
Interesting. I mean, you talk about that approach and you know, bringing the songs to completion and realizing the songs. I mean, when you're writing, I mean, are you hearing like a song like Scarecrow? I mean, is that melody like right there for you, or is it hearing the changes and it's going, well, let's let me take it here, let me,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I mean, because these melodies, I mean, your choruses just build so wonderfully, you know, and it's like, it's building, you know, and they don't sound forced, and, you know, these changes
Good.
I've kind of heard before, but I kind of,
Right.
so I'm just wondering, you know,
Again, it's super organic. Like, I would sit there and just like, it would start with just like a sound. So at the beginning of Scarecrow's a good example. You just hear that drone, and that happens throughout the entire song.
Yeah, there's that bent D.
And I would just kind of sit there, and as we're all building together, I'm waiting for the song to tell me what it wants to say, or the melody. So the melody then comes, and then I would just run in immediately, right, and just sing it. And that was it. And then it became like, are those lyrics great, or do we have to change them? And, but again, I'm just kind of sitting there this time and saying, what does it want me to do?
Yeah. What was cool?
I'm sorry, go ahead. Just being inspired by each other constantly, you know, it's like, all right, here's this drony, just a D bent out of shape so bad that, you know, does it sound good or not? And when you kind of listen to it over and over again, then he runs in and is like, I'm gonna put this chorus down, and you hear that chorus, you're like, oh shit, all right, I'm gonna do this now. And there's this like little bit of a change in the melody, and then it's, you know, constantly going back and forth and trying to
I definitely
impress
remember
each other.
that, you know, for that song especially, like you sitting in the back, on that back couch, like just, you know, with headphones on and a pod guitar, and just, you know, there's like a high tremolo pick part that goes, you know, it's really great with the vocal. And it's cool, like everybody was doing that while these songs were written. Everybody was in their own little corner, like a, you know, kind of like a mad scientist or something. Like, and then like it's really cool because then there's that moment, like, all right, well, wait till you see what I do. You know, like I got something great now. And that really is how those songs, especially that song too, got written.
Yeah.
interesting. So at the end of the day, I mean, you had to start this project over.
Yeah.
You went in, you realized that maybe Black Parade didn't get it for you guys.
Right.
I mean, is this the record you were hearing in your heads? I mean, has it kind of hit all those bases for you?
I think that and more. I think it's well beyond what was in our heads. I think that's a great thing. I think to put it in perspective, there was a moment where I was in such a creative paralysis that I was like, I just want to go into the future, and somebody hand me the CD and I could look at it and see what the songs are. If somebody done that, I probably would have been terrified because I probably wouldn't have recognized anything and been like, wow. Like, so, you know, it was all a surprise at the end. Every single song that ended up there was a total surprise.